The first bell of Eastwood High always rang 5 minutes too early, as if the building itself enjoyed catching students off guard. The chilly November wind slid through the cracked windows near the main entrance, and students tugged jackets tighter around themselves as they shuffled in. Most kids walked in groups, laughing at half-funny TikToks or gossiping about Friday football. But Amara walked alone. She always had. Her books were clutched against the front of her chest, pressed tight like a shield even though she knew it never helped. She walked quietly, head slightly bowed, dark curls brushing her cheeks. Her backpack strap, frayed from years of wear, kept sliding off her shoulder. She lifted it back up without looking around. The hallways were alive with sound. Metal locker doors slamming, sneakers squeaking, someone yelling, "Dude, catch!" as a crumpled paper ball flew through the air. Somewhere down the hall, a freshman dropped his entire binder and loose worksheets fanned across the floor like confetti. Eastwood was chaotic, loud, and relentless, and Amara blended into the background like a ghost. Despite her attempt to keep her presence small, a voice sliced through the noise. "Move it, Charity Case." The hallway laughter stopped for half a second. Amara froze. Behind her stood Jax, tall, blonde, always wearing that same smug superiority like a jacket. His friend group, the Ridge Crew, formed the kind of pack that preyed on anyone smaller, quieter, or different. They didn't bully for reason. They bullied for sport. Amara turned slightly. "Sorry," she murmured. "That's it?" Jax said, stepping closer. "No eye contact? No reaction? You think you can just ignore me?" Amara's fingers tightened around her books. She forced her voice steady. "I said excuse me. I wasn't blocking anything." "Aw," Jax said, leaning down to her height. "Listen to that. She talks." He tapped her chin with 2 fingers, and the people watching sucked in a breath. It wasn't the tap that stung. It was the feeling. The familiar heat under her skin. Embarrassment, anger, the old ache of not fitting in, not being seen, except when someone wanted to hurt her. But the world didn't know Amara had learned to swallow pain long before she learned to speak. Before she could respond, someone called Jax from down the hall. "Coach wants you for practice early," Jax smirked. "Saved by the bell, Amara. Or maybe by me, don't get used to it." He walked off, his crew trailing behind like shadowy parasites. As soon as they were gone, the hallway noises returned, loud, indifferent, like nothing had happened. Amara exhaled shakily and headed to class. She didn't cry. She hadn't in years, not since she was 8. The classroom smelled like pencil shavings and lemon disinfectant. Ms. Rourke, their English teacher, was writing character archetypes on the board with a squeaky marker. Amara slid into the seat near the window, pulled out her notebook, and tried to calm her heart. A girl named Tessa sat beside her, talkative, bubbly, the kind of person who said hi to everyone, including people who ignored her. "You okay?" Tessa whispered as she opened her laptop. "Yeah," Amara lied. Tessa frowned. "Jax again?" "He's always like that. It's fine." "It's not fine," Tessa snapped before lowering her voice again. "People just let him get away with everything because his dad donated the new gym scoreboard." Amara offered a weak shrug. "I just want to finish school without causing trouble." Tessa shook her head. "You're too calm. If it were me, I'd tell my parents and let them storm the school." Amara smiled faintly, but only she understood the irony. Her dad would storm the school. He'd probably tear the front door off the hinges, and he wouldn't do it quietly. Because while Eastwood High just saw a quiet black girl who never talked, her world away from school was a different universe entirely. Her father wasn't just any parent, not just a name, not just a celebrity. Her adoptive father was Vin Diesel. But no one at school knew that. No one could. Growing up, people loved him wherever they went. Fans asking for photos, grown adults nearly collapsing at the sight of him, kids screaming "Dom" from across the street. But Vin Diesel had always been clear. Your life comes before my fame, before movies, before everything. I want you to be a kid before you become anything else. So Amara lived two lives. One where she ate dinner with a superstar who taught her how to change her own tire, how to stand with her shoulders back, how to never apologize for existing. And another where she hid in plain sight. The kids at school knew she was adopted. They knew she didn't look like her mom. They knew she wasn't rich. They never suspected her family had money or power because her clothes were simple, her habits quiet, her silence easy to target. But everything Vin Diesel touched turned loud, big, explosive. So Amara made herself small. She didn't tell anyone about home, didn't brag about movie sets, didn't mention being taught self-defense by the stunt coordinator who'd been with Vin since XX Tex. Every part of her wanted peace. So she stayed invisible, until Jax made sure she wasn't. After school, as students poured out of the building, Amara slipped out the side exit to avoid the football team's rowdy post-practice yelling that usually echoed through the front lot. She walked past the chain-link fence, the one always rattling in the wind, and reached the quieter parking area where teachers' cars lined up. She pulled out her phone. A new text message lit the screen. Dad, I'll be home late. Stunt rehearsals running overtime. You good? Love you, kiddo. A smile tugged at her lips. Her dad was never too busy to check on her. Amara, I'm okay. Long day. I'll start homework. Love you too. Safe stunts plaz. She tucked her phone away and began walking. But she didn't realize someone else was watching. From behind the fence, Jax leaned against a tree, smirking. Charity case walks alone, he muttered to his friend, Brady. I should keep her company. Brady frowned. Dude, leave her. People are starting to notice you're obsessed. It's not obsession, Jax scoffed. It's fun. Fun. A sharp, cold word. He stepped out from behind the fence and approached her. Yo, Amara! She stiffened, turned. He wore a wide, fake grin. Why so jumpy? I just want to talk. She clutched her backpack. What do you want? He shrugged casually. Nothing. Just seeing if you need a ride home. Looks like you walk every day. No, thank you. Aw, that's cute. You acting like you've got options. Brady winced. Jax, let's go. But Jax didn't move. Seriously, Amara said, voice firmer. Please, leave me alone. His expression shifted, annoyance flashing in his eyes. You think you're better than me, don't you? He said. What? No. You walk around with your little books like you're some perfect honors student. But you're not. You're nobody. His voice echoed through the parking lot. Amara's pulse raced. She didn't want a scene. I'm not trying to be better than anyone, she whispered. I'm just trying to get home. Brady tugged Jax's sleeve. Come on, man, she's literally doing nothing. Jax jerked his arm away. Whatever, fine. Go home. He stepped closer. Too close. And tomorrow? He tilted his head. Try not to piss me off by breathing too loud. Brady cursed under his breath. Bro, what is wrong with you? Amara didn't wait. She walked away fast, heart pounding in her ears. Jax watched her leave with a strange, unreadable expression, frustration wrapped in something darker. Amara turned the corner and nearly screamed. A sleek black SUV idled at the curb, tinted windows, engine humming. Unfamiliar. For a second, she panicked, until the passenger window slid down. Hey, superstar! Her entire body sagged with relief. Dad, you said you were at stunt rehearsals. Vin Diesel grinned from the driver's seat, still wearing part of his costume, gray dust on his jacket. They wrapped early. I figured I'd pick you up. Surprise. A laugh tumbled out of her, the first real one all day. She opened the door and climbed in. The moment she shut the door, Vin's smile faded, replaced by a father's intuition. "Talk to me," he said, voice low and warm. "What happened today?" Amara swallowed. He always knew. She never had to say much. He felt changes in her silence like seismic waves. "Just school stuff," she said. "That specific kind of school stuff you never want to talk about?" She turned toward the window. "It doesn't matter." Vin's jaw tightened. "If someone's giving you trouble—" "No," she said quickly, too quickly. "Please, I just want things normal. If anyone knew who you were—" He sighed through his nose. "I get it. But you don't have to face the world alone." "I'm not," she whispered. "I have you. I just want to survive school quietly." Vin rested his massive hand gently on her shoulder. "You deserve more than survival." She didn't answer. He didn't push. They drove in silence until he asked, "Pizza tonight?" "Yeah," she said softly. "Pizza sounds good." Across the street, unnoticed, Jax watched the SUV pull away. His jaw dropped. That was Vin Diesel," he whispered. Brady blinked hard. "Dude, no way." "That was him," Jax insisted. "That was freaking Vin Diesel picking her up." Brady's face paled. "Jax, what did you say to her today?" Jax opened his mouth, closed it. Suddenly, his fun didn't feel fun anymore. Because if Vin Diesel was her father, then everything was about to change, and Jax had no idea just how much damage he'd already done. Night settled over the Diesel household like a warm blanket. Soft lights, low jazz drifting from the living room, the smell of pepperoni pizza filling the air. The world outside paused, but inside their home, safety felt like a living thing. Amara curled up on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, laptop open, half-finished homework glowing on the screen. Vin sat across from her, leaning back in the armchair he claimed was the throne, but only she could make fun of him for calling it that. "You've been quiet," he said finally. Amara clicked her pen. "I'm always quiet." He chuckled. "Quiet is one thing. This is different." He tilted his head. "Something's eating you." She hesitated. She wanted to tell him everything. The parking lot, the way Jax's voice echoed inside her head, the humiliation. But the image of Jax's stunned face when he saw Vin flashed into her mind. What if tomorrow became worse? What if keeping her father's identity hidden wasn't enough anymore? "It's just school," she murmured. "I'll be fine." Vin didn't push, not directly. Instead, he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and said quietly, "You're allowed to tell me when something hurts." Her throat tightened. "I know," she whispered. He nodded, letting it go, or at least pretending to. Then he smiled lightly. "By the way, your friend, what's her name? The one who likes wearing neon scrunchies?" "Tessa." "Yeah, Tessa. She's good people. I like her energy." Amara smiled a little. "She talks a lot." "Balance is good," Vin said. "Little bit of quiet, little bit of chaos." "Dad?" Can chaos ever fix things?" Vin raised an eyebrow. "Depends what kind of chaos." Then, "If someone's bullying you—" She flinched. He saw it, but instead of pushing her to talk, Vin's voice softened. "Tomorrow, I'll drop you off early. I want to see the school." Panic rose in her chest. No, please, Dad, don't come inside. I don't want attention. I won't go in, he promised. Just want to get a feel for the place. Amara nodded, tension easing only a little. Vin stood, kissed the top of her head, and said, Sleep early, superstar. You've got a long day tomorrow. She closed her laptop and wondered if he could feel how scared she really was. By morning, Eastwood High buzzed with something strange, a kind of electric hum, more focused than the usual noise. Tessa rushed up to Amara at her locker. Did you see the group chat? She whispered. What group chat? The whole junior class one. People are saying they saw Vin Diesel yesterday. Amara's stomach dropped. Tessa leaned in. Did you? I mean, you like movies a lot, so maybe you saw... Amara forced a shrug. Probably someone's cousin or something. Probably, Tessa agreed, though doubt lingered. Amara exhaled slowly. Rumor. Just rumor. Except... Down the hall, she saw him. Jax. His jaw clenched, his eyes locked on her, and his friends were whispering around him like buzzing hornets. Brady nudged him sharply. Dude, don't. Just don't. Jax ignored him. Tessa noticed. Let's go to class early, she whispered, grabbing Amara's arm, but it was too late. Jax stepped into their path. Hey, he said. Tessa stiffened. What do you want? Jax didn't look at her, only at Amara. We need to talk. No, Amara said firmly. Yes. Tessa planted her feet. Back off, Jax. Seriously. But behind him the hallway seemed to watch like it always did. Quiet, waiting, hoping for drama. Eastwood loved a spectacle. Amara shook her head. Whatever you have to say it here. Jax's jaw twitched. Last night, that guy in the SUV, that was my dad, Amara said flatly. He sucked in a sharp breath. So it was him? None of your business, she said. The hallway fell silent. Jax stepped closer, lowering his voice. Look, I didn't know. And if you had, she cut him off. You would have left me alone? Treated me like a human only because you're scared of my father? The color drained from his face. Amara's voice, calm, steady in a way that scared even her, continued. You hurt people you think no one will protect. That's who you are. Jax opened his mouth, but no words came out. Tessa stared at Amara like she'd just transformed into someone new. And for a moment, just a moment, Jax wasn't the one in power. But that moment shattered the instant Coach Walker stepped into the hall. Jax, practice, now! Jax backed away, still staring at Amara, expression twisted between embarrassment, anger, and something like fear. He left without another word. Tessa exhaled. Holy, Amara! Since when do you talk like that? Amara didn't know. Something inside her was changing. Something breaking open. And she wasn't sure if it was good or terrifying. Classes dragged on. Amara moved through the hallways feeling every stare. Her math teacher asked 3 times if she was okay. At lunch, Tessa tried to distract her with TikTok gossip, but Amara barely touched her food. The rumor traveled faster than wildfire. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel picked up Amara. No way. I think I saw him too. She lied about being poor? Is she famous? Is that why Jax backed off? People stared not with curiosity, but with a kind of weird hunger, the kind that feeds on drama, not truth. By 7th period, Amara's hands were trembling. She walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, and stared at the girl in the mirror. Same hair, same dark eyes, Same small scar above her eyebrow from falling off her bike at age 9. Nothing about her looked famous. Nothing about her looked powerful. She was just Amara. Her phone buzzed. Dad. Hey. I'm outside. Not coming in. Just waiting in the car. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her bag and rushed outside. But the moment she stepped through the front doors, gasps erupted. Whispers shot through the crowd. And parked in front of the school doors, leaning casually against that black SUV, sunglasses on, arms crossed like he walked out of an action movie, was Vin Diesel. Amara froze. Dad, what are you doing? He pushed off the car, lowering his glasses and shrugging. Picking up my kid. My school ends later today. I told you that. I know, he smirked. I missed you. Dad, she hissed. Everyone's staring. He looked around at the sea of eyes pressed up against windows and gathering near the entrance. Yeah, he said calmly. I can see that. Can you please get in the car? Sure, he said, opening her door for her. But first, a sharp whistle cut the air. Jax. Vin's head snapped toward the sound. Jax stood near the school's steps, backpack hanging loosely from one shoulder, face pale but defiant. He swallowed hard. Mr. Diesel. Sir, I just wanted to... Vin's expression hardened. The casual father disappeared. In his place stood the man the world knew. The man with presence. The man who didn't need to raise his voice to intimidate someone. Are you the reason my daughter came home upset yesterday? Vin asked, tone sharp but controlled. Jax's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Sir, I didn't know she... That's not the question I asked, Vin said. A crowd gathered. Phones came out. Students held their breath. Jax stared at the ground. Yes, sir. Vin stepped closer, towering over him, not threatening, not aggressive, but impossibly firm. You don't need to know who she is to treat her with respect, Vin said quietly. And if you ever speak to her the way you did yesterday, his eyes narrowed, you and I will have a different kind of conversation. A tremor ran through Jax's shoulders. Yes, sir, he whispered. Vin nodded once, sharp as a knife. Then he turned to Amara, voice softening instantly. Ready to go, superstar? She didn't move. Couldn't. Every eye was on her. Every rumor was confirmed. Every shield she'd built shattered. And the weight of it crushed her chest. She pushed past him, climbed into the SUV, and slammed the door shut. Vin exhaled, long and tired, before getting in the driver's seat. The car ride was silent for 3 whole minutes before Vin said softly, I'm sorry. Amara stared at the window. You embarrassed me. I know, he said. You made it worse. Way worse. I know. I told you I wanted normal. I know, he repeated. She finally faced him, eyes shining with frustration, not tears. Then why? Why would you show up like that? Vin didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned into a quiet side street, parked, and looked directly at her. Because I know what fear looks like. Her breath caught. You walked out of school yesterday like the world was pressing down on you, he continued. You flinched when I asked if you were okay. You barely spoke at dinner. His voice cracked. You're my kid. I can feel when something's wrong. Amara swallowed, throat tightening. You tried to handle it alone, he said softly. But you don't have to. She didn't want to cry. She really didn't. But her voice came out small. You made me look like I needed saving. You don't, he said. But that doesn't mean you don't deserve to be protected. Her chest ached, because she'd spent so long trying to be invisible to survive that she forgot what being protected felt like. Vin rested his hand gently over hers. I'm not mad you didn't tell me about him. I'm not mad you're scared. I just want you safe. Her lips wobbled. I was safe before. Vin shook his head slowly. Baby girl, no. You were surviving. That's not the same. Silence hung heavy. Finally, she whispered, Everything's going to change now. Vin nodded. Yes, but that's not always bad. She didn't believe him. Not yet. Within an hour of them getting home, while Vin reheated leftovers and Amara sat curled on the couch scrolling mindlessly, Tessa called. Amara, don't freak out. What happened? She said immediately. There's a video. Amara froze. What video? The one of your dad talking to Jax. Tessa's voice shook. Someone recorded the whole thing. They posted it online. Amara's heart dropped into her stomach. Her phone buzzed with notifications. Pings, 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 Instagram tags, TikTok mentions, school gossip accounts blowing up. She opened the first link. There he was, her dad, her bully, her secret life exposed to the entire internet. The title read, Vin Diesel defends his daughter from school bully. Her breath shattered. Vin walked into the room holding a bowl of pasta and instantly dropped it. What happened? She handed him the phone. He read the title. His face darkened. Who posted this? He growled. Someone from school, she whispered, voice shaking. It's everywhere. Vin stared at the screen, expression a mixture of anger and deep, deep regret. Then he said quietly, I never wanted your world to get caught in mine. Amara blinked away tears. They both sat in the quiet living room, the glow of the viral video reflecting off their faces, as everything they tried to keep private exploded into the world. And somewhere in Eastwood, Jax watched the same video again and again and again, realizing he hadn't just bullied the wrong girl, he had declared war on the wrong family. Elena walked out of the principal's office in silence. Her cheek was still red from the slap. Her books were scattered, and the hallway felt like a long, echoing tunnel where every whisper had teeth. Students didn't stare openly. No. They did that thing teenagers are experts at, the half glance that pretends not to care but drinks in every detail. The school bully, Jason, stood near the lockers with his friends, laughing loudly, pretending everything was normal. Except his laugh didn't sound like triumph anymore. It sounded shaky. His friends noticed too. They nudged him. Bro, you good? You've been acting weird since the office. He shrugged. Yeah, I'm chill. Just a black girl crying to the principal. Nothing new. But for the first time, the joke didn't land. Not with his friends. Not with anyone. Not even with himself. There are two types of guilt. 1. The guilt you feel because you got caught. 2. The guilt you feel because your soul knows you crossed a line. Jason was experiencing both. Every time he replayed the moment, Elena hitting the floor, her books exploding in the hallway, the look on her face. His stomach twisted. It wasn't just that he hit her. It was that he hit someone who did nothing, someone who didn't even raise her hands to protect herself, someone who looked more disappointed than hurt. That expression haunted him. He slammed his locker shut to chase the memory away, but it stuck to him like glue. As she passed Jason, Elena didn't shrink, didn't look down, didn't flinch. She simply looked him in the eyes. Not with fear, not with hate. With something worse. Understanding. It shook Jason more than any scream could have, because that look said, I know who you are. I know why you do what you do, and none of it scares me. Jason's breath caught. He stepped back a little, just instinct. For the first time, one simple truth whispered inside him. She isn't afraid of me. And fear was the only weapon he ever had. Ms. Rivera, one of the school's toughest teachers, watched the silent exchange. She stepped beside Elena and placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to walk alone, she said firmly. Elena nodded politely. Thank you, but I'm okay. That confidence, quiet, graceful, unshakable, echoed through the hallway like a challenge. Even the students who normally sided with Jason felt something shift. Nobody said it aloud, but they all felt it. This girl is different. This girl is powerful in a way that has nothing to do with fists. Jason turned away quickly, heart pounding so hard he thought others might hear it. High schools don't need newspapers. Whispers travel faster than Wi-Fi. The rumor started in gym class. You know Elena's dad is like someone famous. No way, who? Some big Hollywood dude. Which one? Bro, I heard it's Vin Diesel. Everyone laughed at first. Vin Diesel? The guy from Fast and Furious? Dominic Toretto? The walking definition of family? It sounded crazy. But the rumor didn't die. It spread, and spread, and spread, until it reached Jason's ears. He froze when he heard it. What did you say? Yeah, man, one kid insisted. Elena's adopted. Vin Diesel took her in after her mom passed. She's basically family. Jason felt the blood leave his face. Because suddenly, the slap, the hallway, the fall, all replayed with a different weight. He didn't just bully a girl. He bullied the daughter of a man whose entire career is built on protecting family. A man who could snap Jason in half without breaking his rhythm. But more than that, he bullied a girl who had been through real loss, real pain, real hardship, and he had added to it. Just when Jason thought he could breathe, the loudspeaker crackled. Jason Carter, report to the principal's office immediately. His heart dropped. His friends looked at him with that guilty, glad face teenagers get when someone else is in trouble. Jason stood slowly. His fingers trembled. Because in his mind, he wasn't walking to the principal. He was walking toward Vin Diesel's fury. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Inside sat Principal Harris and Elena. Her cheek was still bruised, her hair still messy from the fall. Jason couldn't even look at her. He expected screaming, disciplinary threats, a call to the police. But instead, Principal Harris spoke calmly. Jason, Elena's father has been informed. Jason's heart stopped. The principal continued. He requested something before we proceed with consequences. Jason swallowed hard. What did he say? Elena finally looked up. Her voice was soft, but iron lived underneath her words. He said, she began, that you don't hurt a member of his family and walk away unchanged. Jason felt the room closing in. I'm sorry, he stammered. I didn't know. Elena lifted a hand gently. That's the problem, she said. You never know anything about the people you hurt. That line pierced deeper than anything Vin Diesel himself could have said. For the first time in his life, Jason didn't feel like a tough guy. He felt small, exposed, out of excuses. Because this girl, this quiet, strong, resilient girl, was forcing him to feel something he had spent years avoiding. Shame. Not the kind that destroys, the kind that wakes you up. Principal Harris leaned forward. Elena's father wants to meet with you. Jason's entire body went cold. But not to punish you, she added. Jason blinked. Then, what does he want? Elena's eyes locked with his. To teach you something you've forgotten, she said. Jason whispered, which is? Elena didn't look away. That family isn't about blood. It's about who you protect and who you become. The bell rang outside, but inside that office, Jason's world had stopped. This is the turning point, where Jason meets Vin Diesel, and the bully finally realizes what true strength looks like. Jason sat alone in the school's family conference room. A cheap clock on the wall ticked like a countdown timer. His leg bounced uncontrollably, his fingers shook. He had faced plenty of kids smaller than him. He had faced teachers, detentions, even his father on a bad day. But he had never faced Vin Diesel. His mind ran wild. What if he shows up angry? What if he demands charges? What if he wants to fight me? Jason swallowed hard. For the first time, he genuinely wished he could go back in time, just 5 minutes, to the moment before he slapped Elena. Because now, he was sitting in the calm before the storm. Footsteps. Heavy, measured, confident. The door swung open. Jason's heart jumped. But instead of Vin Diesel, a woman walked in. Tall, graceful, calm. A presence so warm it felt like a blanket settling over the room. This was Paloma Jimenez, Vin Diesel's life partner and Elena's adoptive mother. Jason stood reflexively. She looked at him with a softness he didn't expect. "You must be Jason," she said in a slightly accented voice. "Sit, please. I want to talk before he arrives." Before he arrives. Jason's blood pressure spiked. He sat. Paloma sat across from him, folding her hands elegantly. "I've raised 3 children," she began. "One thing I know is that kids make mistakes, but what matters is what they learn from them." Jason stared at the floor. I didn't mean to—" "Don't lie to me," she interrupted gently. "You meant to hurt her. You just didn't expect to feel guilty afterward." Jason froze. How did she know that? Paloma leaned forward. "Do you know why Elena didn't fight back?" Jason shook his head, voice barely a whisper. "No." "Because she was trained not to." Jason blinked. "Trained?" "She grew up around stunt teams, martial artists, and security professionals. She can defend herself better than most adults, but she chooses not to hurt people unless it's absolutely necessary." Jason felt the weight of that revelation. He didn't overpower her. He blindsided her. She could have broken his nose without trying, and she chose restraint. That realization hit harder than the truth about her dad. This time, the footsteps were slower, heavier, intentional. The kind of steps that belong to a man who doesn't rush for anyone. But when he moves, the world pays attention. Vin Diesel walked through the door, not as an actor, not as a celebrity, not as Dominic Toretto, as a father, a big one. The room felt smaller instantly. Jason swallowed so hard his throat clicked. Vin Diesel didn't speak immediately. He simply pulled out a chair and sat across from Jason, folding his hands on the table. He didn't glare. He didn't scowl. He didn't do any of the Hollywood tough guy theatrics Jason expected. He just looked at him with a quiet intensity that was somehow worse. "You know who I am?" Vin finally asked. "Yes, sir," Jason whispered. "Good," Vin said. "Because I don't want to talk to you as a movie star. I want to talk to you as a man." Jason felt his spine stiffen. "Look at me," Vin said. Jason forced himself to lift his eyes. Vin's stare wasn't angry. It was disappointed, which hurt far more. Vin leaned back slightly. "You think you're strong," he said. "I used to think the same thing when I was your age." Jason blinked. "You bullied people?" he blurted without thinking. Vin smirked sadly. "I was angry. I had no father figure, no guidance. I acted out. I hurt people who didn't deserve it." Jason's breath caught. Vin continued. "Then someone taught me something. Strength isn't about who you can push down. Strength is about who you choose to lift up." Jason looked away. He didn't want to hear this. He didn't want to feel this. But he needed to. Vin wasn't done. You hit my daughter. Jason flinched. But she didn't break, Vin said. And the only reason you're sitting here instead of facing charges is because she asked me not to destroy your life. Jason's head snapped up. Elena? She protected him? She said, Vin continued, Dad, he's hurting in ways you can't see. Don't punish him. Teach him. Jason felt something inside him collapse. Vin leaned forward. Elena survived things you can't imagine, he said. Losing her mother, changing homes, therapy, sleepless nights, and still, she shows kindness. Jason felt his throat tighten. That girl walked into our home with fear in her eyes, Vin continued, and now she walks with purpose. You tried to take that from her. I didn't know, Jason whispered. That's the point, Vin said firmly. You didn't know, you never do. Bullies don't ask questions. They assume. They project. They take. Jason felt tears sting the corners of his eyes. He wiped them fast, hoping neither parent had seen. Vin saw. Of course he saw. Vin placed both hands on the table. You're not getting expelled. Jason let out a shaky breath. But you are going to do something for me. Jason tensed. Some weird punishment? Some humiliating task? Vin's voice softened, which made it more intense. You're going to earn Elena's forgiveness. Jason's head rose slowly. How? Vin took a deep breath. You're going to shadow me. Jason blinked. What? For 7 days, Vin explained. You're going to live a day in my world. You'll visit sets, charity events, stunt rehearsals, family dinners. You'll see what it means to protect instead of hurt, to build instead of break. Jason stared in disbelief. This wasn't punishment. It was transformation. You'll also attend counseling, Vin added. Non-negotiable. And you'll complete a service project at school, one Elena chooses. Jason nodded slowly. He didn't understand everything. He didn't know what the week would look like. But he knew one thing. Vin Diesel wasn't trying to scare him. He was trying to rebuild him. Vin stood, towering over him. Jason, he said quietly. Jason looked up, eyes glassy. You hurt my daughter. But I'm giving you a chance to become someone who would protect a kid like her someday. Jason broke. A sob escaped, quick, sharp, embarrassing. He covered his face. Vin didn't shame him. He simply placed a steady hand on Jason's shoulder. Paloma placed a gentle hand on the other. Jason had never had adults hold him like that. Not in anger, not in disappointment, not even in affection. He cried harder. For everything he had done. For everything he had become. And for everything he still hoped he could be. Vin stepped back and said one final line before leaving. See you tomorrow morning, kid. Your first lesson starts at sunrise. Jason sniffed, wiping tears. Sunrise? Like, early? Vin smirked. You want to change your life? He said. Better set your alarm. The door closed. Jason sat alone. Terrified. Hopeful. Changed. Jason's alarm exploded at 5 a.m. He had barely slept. His eyes burned. His muscles felt like they were made of concrete. But Vin's words rang in his head. Your first lesson starts at sunrise. He dragged himself out of bed, threw on a hoodie, and stumbled outside. Only to find a black SUV already parked at the curb. The tinted window rolled down. Vin Diesel sat inside, sipping coffee like he'd been awake since yesterday. Get in, kid, Vin said. Jason climbed in. The SUV smelled like leather, cologne, and responsibility. Where are we going? Jason asked. Vin smirked. To learn what strength actually feels like. Jason gulped. That didn't sound comforting. They arrived at a massive open lot behind a studio. Metal ramps, crashed cars, harness rigs, tire tracks carved deep into the dirt. It looked like a playground for superheroes. Jason's jaw dropped. "Welcome to my real job," Vin said. "Family on screen is easy. Family behind the scenes? That's the real fight." Jason followed him nervously. Every stunt coordinator on set greeted Vin with respect. Not fake, not Hollywood, but the kind you give someone who has bled beside you. Vin introduced Jason to the stunt team. "This is Leo," he said, placing a hand on a muscular stuntman's shoulder. "He's been thrown off more buildings than you've had bad days." Leo laughed. "Kid, don't worry. We won't throw you off a building, not today." Jason swallowed hard. "Relax," Vin chuckled. "You're not here to get hurt. You're here to learn." Vin stood in front of a wrecked car. "You think violence is power," he said. "I used to think that too. But this," he tapped the metal door, "this is what happens when power has no control." He nodded to Leo. Leo kicked the door, denting it effortlessly. "You see that?" Vin said. "Anyone can destroy. Children can destroy. Weak men destroy." He stepped closer to Jason. "But it takes discipline to protect. It takes strength to control yourself. That's why Elena never hits back unless she has to." Jason looked down. He felt a pit in his stomach. He understood. Finally, Vin took Jason to the harness rig. "Today," Vin said, "you're learning trust." Jason frowned. "Trust who?" Vin smiled. "Everyone." They strapped Jason into a harness. He dangled awkwardly like a terrified marionette. The stunt team laughed, not in a mean way, in a "we've all been there" way. "Relax your shoulders," Leo called out. "Bend your knees," another stunt woman added. Jason wobbled. "If I fall—" "You won't," Vin said, "because people are holding the ropes. People who want you to succeed." Those words hit a part of Jason he didn't even know existed. When had anyone ever wanted him to succeed? He looked around. Every stunt person was focused. Every hand held a rope. Every eye stayed on him. Not one person wanted him to fall. They lifted him. He swung. He wobbled. He yelled. They laughed. He laughed. For the first time in forever, Jason felt safe. They sat on folding chairs eating sandwiches. Vin wiped sauce off his chin and said, "You know why I agreed to help you?" Jason shook his head. Vin pointed at him. "Because you remind me of myself at your age. Angry, lost, trying to look bigger than I felt." Jason stared at the ground. "I don't know why I'm like that," Jason whispered. "You do," Vin said softly. "You just don't want to say it." Jason's throat tightened. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. "My dad left when I was 9. My stepdad, he hits. Not always, but enough." Vin's expression softened. "And your mom?" he asked. "She tries," Jason said. "But she's tired all the time. She says boys need to toughen up. Says crying is weak." Vin leaned forward. "Jason, hear me. Crying doesn't make you weak. It means you've been strong too long." Jason broke again. Tears ran silently. Vin didn't judge, didn't lecture. He just sat there. Let him breathe. Let him be human. Something no adult had ever done for him. That afternoon, Elena arrived on set. She wore a hoodie, jeans, and a quiet confidence that immediately shifted the atmosphere. Jason stiffened. He thought she'd hate him, avoid him, ignore him. Instead, she walked right up. You survived the stunt team? Not bad, she said with a small smile. Jason blinked. You're not mad? I don't forgive you yet, she said honestly. But I don't hate you either. That hit harder than forgiveness, because forgiveness meant the moment was over. This meant she still cared enough to tell the truth. She pointed to the practice mat. Come on. I'll teach you something. Martial arts? Jason asked nervously. No, she said, stepping onto the mat. Balance. She handed him a foam training stick. She took one too. Rule number 1, she said, tapping his stick lightly. You don't attack first. Jason nodded. Rule number 2, she tapped him again. You always watch the other person's shoulders, not the stick. Jason's eyes followed her shoulders. She nodded approvingly. Good. Rule number 3? She smirked. You stay calm, even when you're scared. He swallowed. I'm scared right now, he admitted. I know, she said kindly. And you're still here. That's strength. He blinked back tears. She saw it. She didn't mention it, but she noticed, and she smiled. By sunset, Jason was exhausted, physically bruised, emotionally cracked open, but lighter than he'd ever felt. As they prepared to leave, Vin put a hand on Jason's shoulder. You did good today. Jason looked at him, eyes red. Do you really think I can change? Vin pulled him into a firm, fatherly hug. Kid, Vin said, you already started. Jason froze. No adult had hugged him like that in years, maybe ever. He didn't want to let go. Vin squeezed once more and stepped back. Be here at 5 again tomorrow, he said. Jason nodded. Okay, I will. Vin smiled. Good. Tomorrow you learn what family really means. Jason climbed into the SUV. He stared out the window as the stunt yard faded behind them. His body ached. His eyes burned. But his soul felt awake. For the first time in his life, he wanted to be better. Not because someone scared him into it, but because someone believed he could. And tomorrow? Tomorrow is the day Vin takes him somewhere that will change everything. When Jason woke at 5 a.m., something was different. Not his exhaustion. That was the same. Not the fear that still sat in his chest like a stone. No. What was different was the feeling he didn't dare name yet. Hope. He grabbed his hoodie, stepped outside, and froze. The usual SUV wasn't there. Instead, Vin Diesel himself leaned against a sleek black Jeep, arms crossed, smirking. You ready? He asked. Jason nodded. Kinda. Vin laughed. I'll take it. They drove, not toward the studio, not toward the stunt yard, but toward a quiet hillside neighborhood. Jason frowned. Where are we going? Vin didn't look at him. Don't overthink it, he said. You're about to learn the hardest lesson of them all. Jason swallowed hard. What lesson? Vin shot him a sideways glance. Family. When they pulled up, Jason expected a mansion with gates and bodyguards. Instead, it was a warm, earth-toned house with a garden, chalk drawings on the driveway, and bikes knocked over near the porch. It didn't look like a celebrity home. It looked lived in, loved in. Vin opened his door. Come on. Jason hesitated. He felt like an intruder, like he didn't belong anywhere near a place this peaceful. They walked to the door. Before Vin could knock, the door flew open. A little girl barreled out and jumped straight into Vin's arms. Daddy! Vin lifted her, laughing deeply. The kind of laugh that shakes the ground. Jason froze. This wasn't Fast and Furious Vin. This wasn't the tough guy. This was a father. Paloma appeared behind the little girl, smiling softly. "Good morning, Jason." Jason nodded awkwardly, hands in pockets. "Hi." Then Elena walked down the hallway, hair damp from a morning shower, comfy sweater, calm smile. "You made it," she said. "Dad said you might chicken out." Vin shrugged innocently. "I didn't say chicken. I said nervous." Jason cracked a small smile. It felt weird. Smiling in a real way, not a performative way. But good. Really good. The dining table was long, wooden, covered with breakfast foods that smelled like a restaurant. Fresh fruit, eggs, warm pancakes, coffee, orange juice. But it wasn't the food that hit Jason. It was the atmosphere. Laughter, questions, stories, jokes, interruptions. Actual conversation. Not yelling, not criticism, not tension. Jason sat stiffly at first, like he wasn't allowed to touch anything. Until Elena said, "You're sitting like we're a crime family inviting you to the table. Relax." Jason laughed through his nose. "Sorry, just not used to this." Vin pointed his fork at him. "That's why you're here." Everyone ate. Everyone talked. Everyone included him. "Jason, do you play any sports?" "Jason, do you want more pancakes?" "Jason, tell me about your school." "Jason, you have a good smile when you actually smile." When the little girl dropped her fork, Jason instinctively leaned down to grab it for her. She giggled and said, "You're nice." Jason froze. No one had ever called him that before. Ever. He had no idea how badly he needed that single word. After breakfast, Vin motioned for Jason to follow him into the living room. They sat on the couch. "Jason," Vin said gently, "I brought you here because this—" He gestured around the warm, messy, loving home, "is what you've been fighting against your whole life." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" Vin leaned forward. "You think being tough makes you safe. You think anger protects you. You think pushing people away gives you control." Jason swallowed. Vin continued. "But look around. None of that exists here. And no one is weak." Jason stared at the floor. He didn't have a comeback for that. Because deep down, he knew it was true. He wasn't tough. He was scared. Always scared. And hurting others felt like power, until he met people who had real power and didn't use it to hurt anyone. Vin placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're not treating you like a project. We're treating you like a person deserving of care. And that's the part you don't know how to handle." Jason's eyes stung. I don't know how to be in a family like this." Vin smiled softly. "That's okay. You're learning." Vin stepped away to take a call, leaving Jason and Elena alone. Elena sat on the carpet near the coffee table, motioning for him to sit too. Jason lowered himself down, legs crossed awkwardly. "You're doing better," she said. Jason scoffed. "I cried yesterday." "So?" Elena shrugged. "Dad says crying is like resetting your heart. No shame in it." Jason looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't judging him. She wasn't holding the hallway incident over him. She wasn't gloating in her moral victory. She was just kind. "Why aren't you mad at me anymore?" he finally asked. Elena took a long breath. "I was mad," she said honestly. "Not because you hit me, but because you didn't care who you might be hurting." Jason nodded slowly. "But now," she continued, "I see you're trying. And trying is a lot more than most people do." Jason choked back another tear. Elena added softly, "I'm not expecting you to become perfect. I'm just expecting you to change direction." That line hit Jason deeper than any lecture ever had. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Why didn't you fight back? I mean, you could have. Your dad told me. Elena looked at him with eyes full of clarity. I didn't fight back, she said, because I refused to become what hurt me. Jason froze. The room felt still. He whispered, I've become what hurt me, haven't I? Elena didn't deny it, but she didn't shame him either. She just said, You don't have to stay that way. Jason suddenly covered his face with his hands. I don't know how to change, he whispered. Elena moved closer, placing a gentle hand on his wrist. You don't need to know how, she said. That's why we're helping you. Jason lowered his hands. She gave him a small smile. You don't have to be perfect, Jason. You just have to be willing. And in that moment, Jason felt something he had never felt before. Something terrifying, something beautiful. Vin fired up the backyard grill. Music played softly. Kids ran around. Paloma set out plates. Jason stood awkwardly near the back door, unsure of where to be. Vin noticed. Get over here, Vin said, waving him to the grill. You ever flip burgers with a movie star? Jason laughed quietly. No. Well, Vin said, handing him the spatula, there's a first time for everything. Jason flipped the burgers. Awkward, clumsy, burned one. Vin didn't yell, didn't sigh, didn't shame him. He simply showed him again. That's when Jason realized, this is what being taught feels like. This is what not being afraid feels like. Dinner was filled with laughter, stories, human warmth. Jason felt like someone had taken a heavy armor off him, armor he didn't know he'd been wearing. As the sun set, Jason walked to the fence alone. He stared at the glowing sky. Elena approached quietly. Long day? She asked. Jason nodded. Best day, he whispered. Scariest, too. Elena leaned against the fence beside him. You know, she said, Dad thinks you're a good kid. Jason swallowed. Do you? Elena looked at him, really looked. Then she said something that hit him like a tidal wave. I think you could be, if someone just loved you right. Jason's breath caught. Not romantic love, not mushy love, just human care. The kind he never had. Jason blinked back tears. Do you think I can be better? Elena smiled softly. I already see it. Jason exhaled shakily. For the first time in his life, he believed it too. Jason woke early. Not just because Vin said 5 a.m., not just because of routine, but because today felt different. He wasn't scared. Well, maybe a little. But more than fear, there was a strange excitement. Today, I go back. Today, I face him. Today, I prove something. To myself. He dressed carefully. Clean hoodie, jeans, sneakers. Checked his hair in the mirror. Took a deep breath. The SUV waited outside. Vin nodded at him. Elena waved from the back seat. Jason climbed in. This is it, Vin said. Remember, confidence isn't loud. Strength isn't cruel. And power, it's earned with respect. Jason nodded. As they pulled into Clearview High, Jason noticed whispers. Not the same whispers as before. Curious, skeptical, respectful. He stepped out of the SUV with Vin Diesel at his side, Elena beside him. It was an army of calm, quiet authority. Jason felt it. Students felt it. He walked the halls like he owned nothing, but commanded everything. Bryce Carter, the former king, leaned against the lockers with his friends, eyes narrowing, jaw clenched, not smug this time, wary. Jason met his gaze. No fear, no arrogance, just presence. Bryce stepped forward. "You think you're tough now?" he said, voice low. "You've got Diesel backing you? That's pathetic." Jason didn't flinch. "No," he said quietly. "Not tough, not backed, just done being scared." Bryce scoffed. "Done being scared? You're still scared." Jason smiled faintly. "Maybe. But I know the difference between strength and fear now." Bryce tilted his head, confused, angry, uneasy. Jason's classmates watched. The power had shifted, subtly, irrevocably. Lunchroom, Bryce's usual territory. Jason walked in alone, head held high. No entourage, no backing. The table went silent. Bryce tried a taunt. "Hey, Jason, ready to cry like yesterday?" Jason smiled. "Not today. Today, I lead by example." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell. He didn't fight. He walked past the table, grabbed his tray, and sat at a neutral table with other students. No one left him alone. Everyone watched. Everyone felt the shift. Bryce's friends tried to laugh it off. The laughter faltered. Even Bryce didn't know what to say. Jason exhaled slowly. He didn't need to prove anything. The respect was already earned. Jason spent the week after that returning every act of cruelty with calm composure. Helped classmates he had ignored. Stopped fights before they started. Volunteered for school projects Elena assigned. Even invited Bryce to join. Not as a threat, but as a test of true character. Bryce tried to resist. Then he watched Jason lift others without pushing them down. He saw the reactions, the respect, the quiet admiration from students he never noticed before. It burned him. It frustrated him. And eventually, it inspired him. Jason wasn't trying to win. He wasn't trying to dominate. He was simply living as someone better than he was yesterday. And that was more powerful than Bryce ever imagined. At home that week, Jason realized the full lesson. Vin Diesel's presence wasn't about intimidation. Elena's choices weren't about revenge. Paloma's care wasn't about fixing him. It was all about showing him what life could feel like if you acted with courage, empathy, and patience. Jason had never known a family that believed in him, never known people who demanded accountability while offering support, never known the feeling of being safe and respected all at once. He wasn't perfect. He still made mistakes. He still got frustrated. But he knew now. The world responded to strength without cruelty. 2 weeks later, Jason passed Bryce in the hallway. Bryce tried one last taunt. Jason smiled faintly. Elena walked beside him. Vin followed at a distance. "I don't need to fight you," Jason said quietly. "You already lost the fight you started." Bryce froze, not because of fear, because he realized the game had changed. All along, he thought power was hitting first. Jason showed him real power is walking tall while lifting others. Bryce's arrogance melted. He didn't like it. He respected it anyway. Jason didn't gloat. He just kept walking. The hall was silent. The shift was complete. Jason sat at home with Vin, Elena, and Paloma. "Think you're ready for the next step?" Vin asked. Jason smiled. "I've been ready. I just didn't know it." Elena nudged him playfully. "You're officially allowed in the family now." Jason laughed. Not the laugh of a bully. Not the laugh of a scared kid. The laugh of someone who had learned what it truly means to be strong. He had been broken. He had been scared. He had been cruel. Now he was respected, calm, confident, and most importantly, human. Vin smiled. You did good, kid. Very good. Jason finally believed it. The bully had fallen. The boy had risen. The story had become legendary.